Hey guys, it's Joe Carrell. Welcome to another episode of In the Mix. Today we're going to take a look at mixing programmed drums inside of a pop track.
I want you to take my wheels and drive me one last time. Drive me one last time. Oh.
Okay guys, so I'm in the mix room and I have MISY One Last Drive pulled up. It's a pop song that I featured in the last couple episodes, so I hope you've been following along and have had the chance to hear it. If not, no problem. I'm going to play a brief clip of it here to get everybody up to speed. But I had a different thing in mind to cover today. But in just the last few days, I've had multiple people reach out to me about the drums, the drum programming, the drum sounds, and that kind of a thing. So if that's what you guys want to hear, that's what we're going to focus on. So let's talk about it. It's a pop tune that's all programmed. Everything that you hear is a sample. It's a lot of drag and drop programming, some stylus, if you've heard of that software. Sound-wise, the only thing that is out of the box is that there are certain sounds that I took the sample and processed it through WA-73 preamps just to shape, give it a little more transformer size and make it a little bigger. Other than that, it's a largely in the box kind of thing. So here's a quick example. Okay, so quite a bit going on. So just for the sake of time, I want to feature or focus on a couple elements, our kick drums, maybe a couple of our backbeat elements. I don't think I'll talk about the timpanis, but you probably heard there's even timpanis in there. So this was a lot of fun. I'm going to turn these reverbs off because we were hitting a couple reverbs. One thing I want you to look right here on the screen where I'm moving the mouse. You see that? There is a drum bus that is unaffected, and you'll see there's no plugins on it whatsoever. So that is just the drums as they're being summed with no additional processing. There is a second fader here that is parallel compression. I call it Squisher, and it has the Brainworks Townhouse bus compressor on it. And then I have this distortion track. It's parallel distortion. I call it Distorto. That's my little nickname for it, aptly named nickname. So, and I do have the McDSP 6050 on there, providing the distortion. But right now, I'm gonna mute those two parallel tracks, and we're gonna hear the more raw sounds, just so you can kind of hear the sample as it was chosen, and what I did to affect it prior to making it larger than life with the parallel treatment. So let's just start at the bottom. Let's start on the kick drum. You'll see I have kick lil and kick big. And Kick Lil is playing in the verses. And I have fun naming tracks, why not? I mean, you spend so many hours of your life in this one room, you might as well do something to entertain yourself. So let me play you the Lil kick here, raw. And this is, just the raw sound, no parallel processing, no plugins, anything. Okay, that's that kind of a thing, kind of dull, kind of round. So that way the verses could be here, and then when the kick comes in or the choruses come in, it really makes a bigger impact. I get a much bigger sound with a more prominent attack. So I've got the Acoustica tape saturation plug-in going on here. You'll see the difference between the input and the output, as well as here that I'm getting a little tape saturation. Okay. And then I've got this plug-in right here, the SSL 4000. And you'll see, I'm removing about, a little heavy-handed here, about 8 dB of, it looks like around 300 cycles or so, 399, so 400 cycles. And then I'm adding some attack at around 5K, several dB, it looks like around 5, okay? Okay, that's the sound of that guy. And then I did use some reverb too. Okay, so that's the treatment on the verse kick. So on the chorus kick, we have kick big here. And you're gonna hear, I'm gonna play it raw and you're gonna hear that it is quite large. All right, here we go. All right, so I've got tape saturation going on here, a little tape saturation. And then I have the DSP MC2000, the 2-band version. And what it is, you'll hear that depending on what you guys are listening to, there's a lot of low frequency information in this kick sample. So as I was mixing, I felt like it was getting out of control just a little bit. So I remember going back and adding this plug-in just to kind of tighten up and control everything from 100 cycles down here. You'll see that my 100 cycles and below is being compressed about 3 dB. Let me show you the raw sound one more time, and then I'm engage those first 2 plug-ins that are just, transient shaping, tone shaping a little bit. The low end is just a little more in control, which is what I was looking for. It was kind of smearing against some of the sub-bass elements, things that we had going on in the choruses. Okay, and then EQ-wise, I'm only doing, one big cut here, but it's pretty noticeable. It looks like around 7K or so, or I'm sorry, 7 dB at around 300 cycles. Yeah, 363 cycles. And I am cutting off the extreme high end above 2K or 12K. Didn't need any of that. All right, so here it is. I'm going to play it without the SSL, then I'll turn the SSL on after a couple hits, all right? Okay, same thing. It's just clearing out some of that mid-range, the low-mid stuff that is getting in the way of some of the synths and the basses and things like that, all right? Let's talk about backbeats. I've got a couple things going on here. Here is the snare sample, and I want you to hear, it was exactly what I was looking for, except it was really bright and transient rich. So I want you to hear this. Okay, so I definitely brought tape saturation into this equation to help me shape that transient a little bit. This is the B2 setting. And then I also brought in the SSL 4000, pretty heavy-handed here. You're gonna see I'm adding some low end because it's kind of a thin sounding sample. So around 4 dB of about 150 cycles it looks like. And look at this, I'm low pass, cutting off all the high end above around 8,800 cycles. So I don't want much of any high end here. I'm getting some of the high frequency information from my claps. And then, looks like I'm cutting about 7 dB at 5,400 cycles, even a couple dB. Here it looks like around 4K. So listen, I'm gonna hit play and then engage, a couple beats will go by, then I'll engage the plug-in. You'll hear a significant difference. Much, much, much darker. Again, I'm trying to shape this to fit this song because it's very moody, very vibey. Let me play you these claps. I'm just going to turn them all on for a second so you can hear they're layered up to create the impact that I want to go along with that snare. So I'm going to play you the raw sounds one at a time, just so you kind of see, maybe get into my mind, as far as like when I'm doing this programming. So here's sample number 1. I needed that white noise and that sustain. Listen to sample number 2 here. More of a traditional clap, but I needed, if you'll listen, there's this little pitch bend thing in the middle of it. It's a cool, I'm just adding a little bit of attack to it. I'm not doing much of anything on that first clap, when it comes to my treatment here. But on this clap, I'm getting pretty heavy-handed. So here's the raw clap. Loved it and wanted to really enhance certain elements of that, but it was really, really transient rich. So I'm using this plug-in right here, the 6050 from DSP, and I'm shaping the attack pretty heavily with this guy, and also reducing a little high end. So same thing, a couple beats are gonna go by, then I'm gonna unbypass and let you hear how much I'm affecting it. Okay, really, really bringing that attack down and letting him set into the mix in the way that I want him to sit. Okay, so that's some of the most important ingredients, important elements of the backbeat, the kick drum, things like that. So I want to switch over to parallel compression. So real quick, all these sounds are accumulating to these three buses, right? Let me play you bus number one, which is the unprocessed bus. Okay, now I want to feature parallel compression track. Now that is being done right here with the Brainworks Townhouse compressor. It's kind of based on a 4000, but it's very aggressive, which is what I was looking for. I want you to hear the sustain, how the sounds just the tail of the snare drums, the hand claps and stuff, just seems to stay up in your face. Ready? Okay, so I'm going to bypass it. After 2 backbeats, I'm going to engage it, and you'll hear a massive difference. All right, now I'm going to talk about the parallel distortion, and let's turn that up here so you can hear it. And this is going to be the raw sends, that I sent to this track. All right. You see, I mostly chose backbeat elements. Now, listen to the massive difference that this distortion makes. Now, this is the 6050 from DSP, and I have two different distortion modules going on, as well as a little high-end reduction. I'm going to play a couple beats, then engage it. Listen to the massive difference in the sustain and the aggression, okay? One more time. That's a massive difference, okay? Now I'm going to turn it down just a little bit so you're not getting just volume. Now here's width. Okay, now lastly, I want to show you one little thing. Sometimes you can select, you can have all your drums routed to a drum bus and just, copy that and put the compressors and distortion or whatever you want to on. But then all your hi-hats, your kick drums, and everything else are all being treated the same. The way I prefer to do it, you'll see that the inputs here are named by the name of the tracks, Squisher and Distorto that we covered earlier. And you'll see I'm actually controlling that by sends here on these tracks. And that way, see, look, I'm sending like minus 14 or so of this kick, but then -4 of this backbeat, all the way to unity of this particular backbeat. You'll see that theme across these. I'm able to shape those tracks this way to get the effect I'm looking for. So now I'm going to play the raw drum sounds real quickly, and I'm going to turn on these reverbs and that kind of thing so you actually hear the full deal. There we go. And this is going to be just the raw drum bus. After a couple beats, I'm going to engage the compression, and then I'm going to engage the distortion. You'll hear at each step of the way, it just seems to get bigger and bigger and more powerful. All right, that is a little look into the drum sounds of MISY One Last Drive. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope maybe this has given you some ideas to use in your own mixing to get things just powerful and larger than life, and I hope it really helps. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching. As always, if you haven't already, please follow Warm Audio on their social media pages, and also follow my own social media at In The Mix with Joe Carrell, where I'll give you some extra behind the scenes footage and content. Okay, now for MISY singing One Last Drive.
Your face in my mind again, and I've tried keeping myself busy, but just like my gas tank, our love is now running empty, and I want you to take my wheels and drive me one last Is my face in your mind